In this video, I'm going to show you how to crochet these cute little cats. You can use them as appliques for other projects or use them as drink coasters. And I will also show you how to turn them into squares so you can use them for your favorite granny square projects. For materials, you're going to need some yarn. I have some worsted weight yarn here, a crochet hook. I have a 5mm hook, scissors, and a tapestry needle for weaving in ends. You may also want some additional scraps of yarn if you prefer to embroider a face on your cat after it's finished. Let's get started. To begin round 1, I'm going to start with a slip knot and chain 4. Now I'll be putting all of my stitches in that very first chain. If you prefer, you could also start with a magic circle and then chain 3. So I have my slip knot here on the hook. I'm going to chain up 4. And then I'm going to be placing all of my stitches in this very first chain. So I'll be putting in 11 double crochets. This very first chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. So after we make 11 double crochets, we'll have 12 altogether. So double crochet is yarn over. Insert your hook into that very first chain that we made. Grab the yarn and pull it through. 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over and pull through 2. So these double crochets are US terms, double crochet, yarn over, insert back into that very first chain, grab the yarn and pull it through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. I'm going to do that one more time. Insert back in there. So if you like, you can pause the video, and after you've made 11 double crochets plus the chain 3 will give you 12. I will meet you back here to show you how to finish off round 1. I've just finished my 11th double crochet, and with that chain 3 from the beginning, we should have 12 double crochets all together. And then I'm going to slip stitch back into the top of that first chain 3 to close the round. And that's the end of round 1. For round 2, I'm going to start right where we left off in a chain 3. This counts as a double crochet. And then I'm going to place another double crochet right back in that first stitch, right where we chained out of that chain 3 from the previous row. And now I'm going to place 2 double crochets in each of the stitches from round 1. So double crochet, and another double crochet in that same stitch, next stitch, so if you like, you can pause the video and meet me back here after you've placed 2 double crochets in each of the stitches from round 1. When you end, you should have 24 stitches all together. And now I've just placed my 24th double crochet. This stitch right here is actually our slip stitch from the beginning of the round. So I'm going to put a slip stitch in the top of that chain 3, just as we did in round 1. And that is the end of round 2. For round 3, I'm going to begin just like I did with the last 2 rounds. I'm going to start with a chain 3 as my first double crochet. And instead of working back into this chain 3 again, I'm going to skip over to the next stitch and work 2 double crochets into the top of that stitch. There's 2. The repeat for this round is to work 1 double crochet in the next stitch and then 2 double crochets in the following stitch, and you'll repeat that all the way to the end of the round. So 1 double crochet, and then in the next stitch we'll work 2 double crochets. So 1 double crochet in the next, and then 2 double crochets in the next one. So by the time you get to the end of the round, counting your chain 3 from the beginning, you should have 36 stitches. If you like to pause the video, you will place 1 double crochet in the next stitch, 2 double crochets in the following stitch, and continue to repeat that till you get to the end of the round, and I'll meet you back here. And now I'm at the end of round 3. I've just placed my last 2 double crochets in that last stitch. Once again, this is the slip stitch from the beginning of the round. And then I'm just going to place a slip stitch in the top of that chain 3 again to close the end of the round. And that is round 3. Round 4 is not a full round. We're only going to be doing about a third of the round, and this is where we're going to shape the cat's ears. So beginning right where we left off, we're not going to chain up this time. So here's our chain 3. This is where we joined. We're going to skip the next 2 stitches, and then we're going to place stitches in this 3rd stitch. So don't count the chain 3, skip the next 2, and then we're going to place all of our stitches in this one. No chaining up. I'm just going to directly place 4 double crochets in that stitch. So the first one will kind of go sideways like that, and then we'll gradually build up the side of the ear. So there's number 4. And after the 4th double crochet, chain 2, and this forms the tip of the cat's ear. And then we'll go back down the other side of the ear, placing another 4 double crochets directly in that same stitch. So be placing 8 all together with that chain 2 in the center. There's 3 and 4. And just like we did on the first side, we're going to skip the next 2 stitches. So you might have to pull this just a little bit to see where you're at. So we've worked directly into this stitch. So I'm going to skip the next 2. So this one and this one I'm going to skip. And then starting in this one, I'm going to place 3 slip stitches. So I'm just going to insert right directly in the top of that, yarn over and pull through, and then pull through that loop on the hook. You might want to work your slip stitches fairly loosely, just so it doesn't bunch up on the top of the cat's head. So there's 2, and then there's 3. Now we need to make our other ear. So this was the last stitch that we worked into. I'm going to skip the next 2, maybe placing these stitches into this stitch right here. So from our slip stitch, skip the next 2, and then place 4 double crochets directly in this stitch. Once again, no chaining up, just go directly in there. We got that one little kind of funky sideways one here. And we'll gradually build up the side of the ear. There's 4, chain 2 again, and then place 4 right back in that same space, in that same stitch. Once again, skip the next 2 stitches. So not the one that we were working in, this one and this one. Place a slip stitch in that last, or in that 3rd one. This is our last stitch for the round. And now we can finish this round. I'm going to cut my yarn. I'm just going to pull the yarn directly up. Now this stitch is important because it's going to be where we place our, or begin our next round. So I'm going to just get my yarn out of the way here and secure that round. I'm going to work directly down into the top of that stitch again with my needle. Bring the yarn down to the bottom. You don't want to pull it too tight because, like I said, we will be working again in that stitch. It's this one right here. So I just like to take my yarn and bring it down the back to the center where we began. You can tie a quick little knot and weave in your ends. And there's our cat. So if you like, you can leave the cat as is, but I will also show you how to turn this into a square. For round 5, we're going to be working a variety of stitches to create the square. So I'm going to work this entire round with you. One other thing that's unique about round 5 is we're going to be working in the 3rd loop of our double crochets from the last round. So by working into the 3rd loop, that's what gives us sort of this 3-dimensional look to the cat. So if you look at our double crochet stitches, we have the 2 loops that we normally work into. And if you rotate this forward slightly, you can see that there are these horizontal bars that run across the back underneath of those 2 loops. This is the 3rd loop that we're going to be working into. So I'm going to go back to the beginning, or actually the end of where we ended our last round, where we did that slip stitch and then pulled the yarn down through. I'm going to rotate that forward and then just insert my hook right into that 3rd loop right there. And I'm going to grab my yarn for my round 5, which is going to be kind of our border color here. I'm going to grab that yarn and pull it through. And then I'm going to chain 1. So the chain 1 is not counted as a stitch. It's just going to be chaining up for our single crochets. So we're going to work single crochets in the next 4 stitches, once again working into that 3rd loop. So going right back down into that stitch where we began. I'm going to work a single crochet and then single crochet in the next 3 stitches. So working into those back loops or those 3rd loops. Okay. So now I have 4 single crochets. In the next stitch, I'm going to work a half double crochet. So once again, 3rd loop, half double crochet is to yarn over, insert your hook into that stitch. Oops. Sometimes it can get kind of tricky trying to work into these. Yarn over, pull through, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through all 3. Then I'm going to be working double crochets in the next 2 stitches. So yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 2. And in the next stitch, another double. Okay, so now I've come to the bottom where I'm going to form my corner. So I'm just going to do a chain 1 because we're actually going to be doing another round that's going to completely square this off. And then since we did 2 double crochets in their own individual stitches here, I'm going to do 2 double crochets, but they're both going to be in the same stitch in this next one. So double crochet and back in that same stitch, another double crochet. And I'm going to work another double crochet in the next stitch. Half double crochet in the next stitch. 3 loops on the hook. So now I've come to the center bottom. I'm going to work single crochets in the next 3 stitches here. And if you like, you can pause the video at any time to catch up. You know, working in the 3rd loops can be kind of not necessarily difficult, but you have to kind of pay attention. So 3 single crochets, and then working back just like we did here, we're going to mirror what we did here. Another half double crochet, another double crochet, and we've come to the end where we're going to make our corner stitch again. I'm going to put 2 double crochets once again in this next stitch. 2, and then chain 1 again to form the corner. I'm going to work 2 double crochets, but once again they're going to each get their own stitches this time. So 1 double crochet, and in the next stitch another double crochet, half double crochet in the next stitch, and then 4 single crochets, just like we began this side with 4 single crochets. I'm going to end with 4 single crochets. Now we've come to the cat's ear. We're going to have 4 stitches from our cat's ears that we're going to work into. So we're going to do slip stitches into each of those. Now this part right here is our chain 3 from the last round. So it kind of creates this little stitch back here. We're just going to ignore that and work only in those 4 stitches from the cat's ear. So I'm going to slip stitch. I'm going to do these slip stitches fairly loosely because slip stitches can be kind of tight, and we're going to be working into these stitches for the next round. Okay, there's our 4th slip stitch here. Now we've come to where that chain 2 space is at. I'm just going to chain 1 kind of loosely, go past that chain 2 and work in the next 4. I'm going to place slip stitches into these. So slip stitches into all of the stitches for the cat's ears, because those kind of create the highest points. We don't want to put really tall stitches in there. And then in our next 3 stitches, these were slip stitches from the last round, I'm going to put single crochets into those. We can actually just work, single crochet, we can actually just work directly in the back. These are technically our double crochets from the first round, for the round before. Now we've come to the other cat's ear. We have our next 4 stitches. I'm going to work slip stitches into those. So we'll rotate it forward. And once again, I'm going to chain 1 to go over the top of that chain 2, and then work slip stitches in the next 4 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, then I'm just going to simply slip stitch into the top of that single crochet that we began our round with to join the end of the round. Now if you go back through and count, you should have 11 stitches on each side with a chain in each corner. And that is the end of round 5. Round 6 is going to be a fairly easy round again. We're going to be doing all double crochets, and they're all going to be worked into both loops on the hook on the top, just like normal. So I'm going to start right where I left off. I'm going to chain 3, that counts as my first double crochet. And then I'm going to work a double crochet in each of the stitches until I get to the corner. Okay, so I've reached my corner space, that chain 1 that we had from our last round. I'm going to work 2 double crochets, chain 2, and another 2 double crochets into this chain space. So 2 doubles, chain 2, and then 2 doubles. And that is what forms this final corner. Now this part can get a little tricky here. You might have to push these a little off to the side to make sure you're working directly into that next double crochet. So we should have had 11 stitches on each side from the previous round to work into. And then in the corner, we're going to be placing those double crochets with the chain stitches. So if you like, you can pause the video and continue to work, placing 1 double crochet in each of those stitches along the side. And then when you get to the corner where that chain 1 is at, you're going to place 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 double crochets. Continue to do that until you get back here where we began, and I'll show you how to finish the round. So I'm coming to the end of this round, and I have my last slip stitch that I'm working into. We had those 4 slip stitches along the cat's ears. This next stitch is our slip stitch from the previous round, so we're just going to skip that and then join in the top of our chain 3 to finish our round. So you should have 15 stitches and then chain 2 corner spaces. Now if you like, you can continue to do another round doing the same thing where you're going to work a chain 3 and then double crochet in each stitch, and then place 2 doubles, a chain 2, and 2 doubles in each of the corners. But for now, I like this size right here, so I'm just going to finish my round. I'm going to leave a tail to weave in, and then just to finish that completely, I'm just going to chain 1 and pull that to create a knot, and then I'm going to weave in my ends. So that is the end of round 6. Now, if you like, you can leave your cats plain, like I've done with these 2. However, if you'd like to embroider a little face, I'll show you how I do that real quick. You can make your face however you like. I'm just going to show you what I do. I'm going to grab a couple of colors of contrasting yarn here. And the first one, I'm going to use a light pink. And I don't need a lot of yarn. I have probably about 18 inches or so here. I'd rather have too much than too little. So I'm going to put some yarn on my needle, and I'm going to start right directly in that center stitch and just go up through it. I'm going to leave about 6 inches or so on the back so that I can weave in my ends. And then if you look at this little guy here, I've just kind of gone about halfway up these double crochets, I'm going to create like a little V stitch. So I'm going to go right back down about halfway. And you don't want to pull too tight, because if you pull too tight, you can lose that stitch definition. I'm going to go right back up into that one again. And I'm just kind of holding my fingers on the back here to keep this tail from going up. I'm going to go on this side, once again about halfway up. And then I'm going to do that 2 more times. This time a little bit closer in. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can kind of shape it when you get finished. And right back in here, that looks pretty good. Makes a cute little nose. I'm just gonna make a nice little knot on the back. Don't want to do it super tight because then you'll pull your stitches from the front. I'm going to cut a tail to leave ends to weave in later. And then I'll show you how I make the whiskers. The whiskers, I'm going to use a contrasting color so it stands out a little bit. And once again, cutting about 18 inches or so of yarn. So I'm threading my needle here, and I have my contrasting yarn. So I'm going to start from right about the center of that first round and go outward. You can make your whiskers as long or as short as you like. You can make as many whiskers as you like. So I'm going to go about halfway on the cat's face, right off from that nose. I'm just going to insert right about here. Once again, I'm going to leave about 6 inches of tail, holding it in the back here. And I'm going to go straight out. Let's see, about right there is good. I'm going to give this guy a little bit longer whiskers this time. Then I'm going to go right back into that same spot. Try to get it in the same spot. You may want to make just a cat to practice your stitches on. It doesn't have to be perfect. And I'm going to go down a little bit on that side. I'm going to mirror that on the other side, just going in for here. Going straight across. It looks pretty cute. And then once again, oops, I pulled that yarn through from the other one. That happens sometimes. And go back down for here. That look about right. Let's make some cute little whiskers like that. Then once again, you can just loosely tie these in the back and weave in the ends. Actually cut that there. So there is our little cat face. And you can make eyes or accentuate the ears if you like. I kind of like it just like that. Thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up as well as subscribe to my channel for more crochet tutorials.